Okay, we're rolling.
I had a friend of mine living in St. Petersburg, and I said, Misha, tell me something. I know it's going to be a strange question. Is this possible to buy a military submarine? Used one. And he said, what a question. Let me check. He called me in 2 days. And he asked me, do we want the submarine with missiles or without missiles? Comes to your head, you can do anything. You wake up in the morning and I want to be a movie star. It's possible. I want to be a gangster. It's also possible. Basically, what we did, we were burning stores.
He used to do arsons in Brooklyn. He called it Jewish lightning.
In the States, in houses, we were breaking furniture, TVs, we were beating up people once in a while, who didn't pay but we were like a collection agency, kind of illegal collection agency. I made very good money until I had a partner. And they killed him. I don't know who. But, he didn't show up to work one day, and I went to his house, and they shot him. When somebody like that getting killed, and the guy is a serious guy, to me, it was a message.
So what do you decide?
I decided to move to Miami.
Miami in the 1990s was still dealing with the remnants of the cocaine wars.
You'd have to be the worst agent in DEA history not to be able to make a case in Miami at that time. During that transition from the cocaine cowboys, when there was bloodletting and gangs.
His Italian organized crime buddies in New York, and he moved up by doing whatever needed to be done.
I don't know, sometimes you falling in love. So many pretty women. Why do you in love, especially with this one? Because she's close to you, you find something. The air was mine. The sun was mine. The sand was mine. Till today, Miami is a place that I would love to live and where I would love to die. I call Porky's two reasons. First of all, if you remember, in that time was a very popular movie, Porky's. I really love those movies. And number two, because original movie Porky's was filmed in this location.
It was the roughest club I was in, for sure, by far.
Porky's was definitely a place that you could get killed. Very dangerous.
I always had the two guns. I always had the Beretta 9mm on me, and I had always here on my head, I have a Colt. I was a cowboy. We can put this way.
Russian money was starting to come in, from Russia, from New York, and they found out a Russian guy owned a strip club. So this became their little hangout.
I'm talking about hundreds of Russian guys that had connections. Russian gangsters. Heavy Russian gangsters.
Tarzan became sort of a go-to guy, and people from New York to Moscow knew that if you wanted to come to South Florida, Tarzan could fix you up.
You wanted a load of dope move, he'd find a way to move it. You wanted somebody killed, talk to him. You wanted prostitutes, he'd find them for you. All you needed to do was talk to Tarzan.
They were once part of what we call the Red Scare. Now these Russians are threatening to turn our streets red. The Russian mob targeting South Florida.
They are here in South Florida, getting away with their crime spree because they are crafty and brutal.
One of our initial concerns was that the Colombian traffickers would come together with the Russian organized criminals and put the dope money together with the military hardware that the Russians had and create a great threat to South Florida and the United States.
So we formed the task force to investigate Russian and Eastern European criminal activity. The FBI provided a squad, and then there was a multi-agency side, which was the Marshal Service, DEA, U.S. Customs, U.S. Immigration, U.S. Coast Guard, and then several local law enforcement agencies, which became Operation Odessa. We had weekly meetings of multiple agencies who had an interest or had information about Russian criminal activity in South Florida.
Delilah.
Yeah.
Juan.
How are you?
How are you?
Good. You looking for Tarzan?
Yes, honey.
Hold on a second.
Juan Almeida, who is he?
Juan Almeida. How do you describe a guy? He has so many angles. Juan Almeida have a lot of angles.
I was first introduced to Juan Almeida through Tarzan at Porky's.
I still love the guy. If he, no matter what.
Tall guy, well-spoken, well-dressed. This guy had all the toys.
I will consider him very shrewd, very intelligent, a good businessman.
He was good at taking assets from traffickers before they went to prison and hiding them, mostly boats. And in many cases, though, it turned out the people would get out of jail or prison, they'd find out that he'd sold their boats. And then he was so good at grifting people that before they ended their conversation, he had just sold them another boat.
Okay, so it's no secret that cocaine is cool. Tarzan was introduced to me by Vanilla Ice.
I became friendly with some other people, famous basketball players, because they were coming to my club. Sting were coming to my club. Vanilla Ice. He had a 42 Tempest speedboat to repair. And I told him where I'm gonna take it. And he said he has a friend of his owns a marina. When I went over there, I met Juan. Lovable person. Great talker. Good-looking guy. I loved that guy from the beginning, from the first minute, and we hit on.
First time I saw Tarzan, he struck me as an oddball. He said, "My name is Tarzan," and I've said, like, "Who? What are you? Tarzan? Where's Jane?"
He was selling cars. He was wheeling and dealing.
Fort Apache Marina was an executive playpen for the rich and famous. Julio Iglesias was a permanent customer there. The whole Miami Vice crew, Gloria Estefan was a customer there. It was a good hangout spot. It was also a place where drug runners often hung out because it was a marina after all, and they could pull their boats out of the water once they did their dirty business, if you will. The way it works was, I don't really care what you do with the car, the boat, or the plane that I sell you. That's your business. If you want to load it up and transport whatever you want to do, that's fine. Just don't tell me that, because I'm not a cop.
he would come together with almost any criminal, and you know, he would sell his services to whoever would ever pay him for it.
One time when the SL 500 first came out, the Cali cartel asked me to bring them half a dozen of them. They ordered them like they would order donuts. I flew to Switzerland, and I bought them at a Mercedes dealership, and I loaded them on a cargo aircraft and flew them to Cali, Colombia. These guys had the SL 500 before anybody else did. I mean, I did things like that.
He was at the marina. He had all the boats, and Juan came in. He came in not with a stack of $5 bills, but he came in with a stack of hundreds. Juan had money on him. He looked the part. He acted the part, and people viewed him as a drug dealer.
Now, come on, this is pretty ridiculous. You spend $500,000 on a boat, and you're not even racing it or using it professionally. Nah, it's just pleasure. It's just a fun boat. That's all it is. Yeah? Do people give you a hard time that you spend that kind of money on a pleasure boat? There'll be a buyer. There'll be a buyer. He's around the corner. Oh, so I see you're going to use it and break it in for him. Naturally. We're going to give him a nice, good boat.
He was using his involvement.
Repeating once again our top story, Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev has been removed from power.
There was a point in time where law and order was lost. No one knew who was in charge in Russia. And I distinctly remember arriving in Moscow and saying to myself, oh my God, everything is for sale? I mean, everything? It was just a complete free-for-all.
In some point, we came here to Moscow to buy motorcycles.
We wanted to travel to it.
How we're gonna find out where's the factory? And the guy said, we're gonna land in the middle of the city, and we're gonna ask for the direction. People were running to see the helicopters, because the last time they saw helicopters, never. They never saw the helicopter. They were thinking that, I don't know, somebody came from the moon.
And he just pulled up with his helicopter, and he made his approach right then. The kids had to move. To move. This guy just lands this monster right there.
And the guy, pilot jumped out. I jumped with him, and he see the lady, with the shopping bags going, and he said, excuse me, where is that factory? And she said, son, you need to fly this way. I said, my God, I love this place. And then the policeman come. He come with a motorcycle and with a little stick, that white and black stick. He didn't have nothing else. He had a whistle. He had a stick and a whistle. And he was like looking at us, like we are aliens. And he said, who are you? I said, we are from Moscow. And that was it. From Moscow, that was the password. And he said, okay, what do you want me to do? I said, I want you to stay and watch the helicopter. We purchased like 250,000 of motorcycle by the name Ij. We got those motorcycles for $200. It was like nothing.
So these are the kinds of things that you can do in Russia at the time, which is unheard of. It's unheard of.
And we had a great time. We enjoyed ourselves. We flew back. And then me and Juan and all the people, we were all so happy about everything. It was fun.
Tony had a relationship with Pablo, and they worked together for many years. Pablo had a large network of dealers, if you will, and Tony was within that network.
How dangerous of a guy is he?
His reputation is that he can be extremely violent. He deals with cocaine dealers, he deals with weapons traffickers. He's really a bad guy.
Tony can be extremely dangerous if he needs to be. If you cross him, he will deal with you, and he's very unforgiving. They wanted two very, very special, highly specialized cigarette boats. And the requirements were A, the speed, and B, the distance. And they were probably going to be used to smuggle large amounts of coke. So I made the sale. And from there on, I started to build the boats for them. It was a total custom job. And I discussed with them the possibility of putting turbines in the cigarettes. It's like an aircraft on a boat. In fact, the sound of it, when it's approaching, you look up to the skies because you think something's landing somewhere and you don't realize it's the boat. And so that elevated the price of the boats to a couple $1 million a piece, which was just outrageous, completely outrageous at the time. And so once I succeeded at selling them the turbines, I had some brochures on my desk about some helicopters that I'd been negotiating turbines for, and they inquired about the helicopters. And that began the sort of trajectory to acquiring specialized helicopters for Colombia.
In Cali, since they knew that I knew all the players involved, they told me, please, just keep an eye on it. Make sure nobody get out of line. Two days later, he went there to have a meeting with me in Caracas. So I'm there waiting for Juan in the Caracas Hilton, and there Juan, he comes. Just walking towards me. As soon as they got there, Juan told me, hey, man, give me a hug and this and that. He told me, man, here's the guy. This is Tarzan. I said, fuck, I look at that guy. He looked like a fucking Russian bear. Big, I say, this fucking guy is trouble. But man, I had to tell you, 2 minutes later, I just loved that trouble. Can I tell you, 30 minutes later, I was fucking laughing. 1 hour later, I just didn't want him to leave Caracas. I just want him to stay with me.
I loved him right away. He definitely looked like a movie star. I hated to go with him anywhere because all the girls were looking at him.
And from there on, it was like such a great time every time that we hook up.
I remember a story when we went to St. Petersburg and he hired some prostitute and he fell in love with her. And he bought her some very expensive perfume. And then when he left, the girl approached me and she said she liked me more than him. And I was very happy that he didn't hear that. But as a friend, I told him that right now I'm dating your prostitute. And he told me the first thing, you owe me the perfume. He was serious about it.
As we're actually holding guns. They were impressing me, is what they were doing. And when we got there, we stepped in this building and we went into their offices. And when we got up, there was a big boardroom, a long table, maybe, I don't know, 14, 16 chairs. And there was maybe 10 guys there. And Tarzan was the very little corner. He did not look like the Tarzan I knew. He looked like a deflated balloon. When he comes to grab me and hug me, Pablo, he whispers in my ear, act tough, be mean. And I was like, man, this is the real deal. Holy fuck, what am I gonna do here? Well, I present myself the way Pablo Escobar would. Just mean fuck. Don't talk, and whenever you talk, just talk like you're a fucking drug dealer. We sit down and we start to talk about this. Pablo, listen. So we know that those helicopters are yours. And we know that you need those helicopters to aid your shipments and all your Great. And so we just want you to know that we're not kidnapping, we're not holding them against their will. We want to partner up with you. We want to be your reps in Russia. Okay? Yeah, we want to handle your cocaine distribution here in Russia. And I was like, okay, what are your capabilities? He goes, well, we'll take something like 50 kilos.
And he's telling me, you're joking.
I looked at them and said, are you kidding me? You brought me to Moscow to talk about 50 kilos of cocaine? Are you serious? And I go, come on. It takes me the same time it takes me to pack 50 to pack 2,500 or 5,000. 50? It's a joke. Please, don't tell me you brought me here for this. Don't tell me I came to Russia to talk about 50 kilos.
And Juan is telling them, you are stupid, crazy, or you have a big cojones.
Tell you what we could do.
Nelson Easter. He was the man that he was the conduit to the money that was financing this deal.
I was approached somewhere down there by very important people. So they told me, listen, this is the deal. We want to get this submarine, and I said, we can get it. I said, but what exactly you want to do with it? Because if we're gonna use it, it has to be a big job. You know, so he says, I think that 40 ton will be appropriate. Shit, when he said that thing, I say, fuck, if I get all of that blow, you know, I'm gonna have the biggest reserve of fucking blow in the world. He told me, how much do you think this thing is gonna cost? So, right there, I thought of one. You know, one, a long time ago, he had told me, Tony, every time that you go into these suckers, just go high. You always can come down, go high. So I say to him, look, you know, I think that with 50, we can have a top-notch equipment. So 50 what? I said 50 million. He says, are you out of your mind? I say, yeah, but you're not putting the numbers together? You want to take fucking 40 tons? You know how much is 40 tons? You're talking about $1,000 a unit? $1,000 a key, you have $40 million. In the first trip, you have paid the fucking whole thing. He says, no, hey, that's good.
What's the price that you end up settling on?
Well, you know, what can I tell you? You know, I'm sure Tarzan tell you one price. I'm sure Juan will gonna tell you one price. But me, I'm the only one that had the price. Because they didn't knew. They just didn't knew these kind of people. They nice guys. You know, Tarzan and Juan, they nice guys. You know, they going to meet one of these people, they better bring a fucking box of toilet paper, brother. You know, eventually I make a deal with them and they told me, Tony, mijo, be straight.
I took the picture of Tony of the submarine, then I took the picture of the captain of the submarine, then somebody took the picture of me with the captain of the submarine. It's like we're buying a car. Like we're buying a used car, we're buying the submarine. Everything was smooth, beautiful. Mission is accomplished. Nice.
So for these three individuals, one with Israeli passport, one was, I believe, a Cuban and a Venezuelan passport, they just walked into the base and not only walked into the base, were given a tour of the base. This is drug traffickers and criminals getting access to a submarine base to look and see and shop for a boat in the Russian base. That's just unheard of.
So as Tarzan returns from our trips to Russia, he and Tony were taking pictures just like tourists take pictures of anything, right? And then would come back, Tarzan would come back with his camera, and Tarzan was leaving these pictures on his desk.
And I started looking at them, and it was pretty Pretty shocking.
Little did Tarzan know that his buddy Yasevich, Agent Yasevich, he of course helped himself to all these pictures.
So that's when we reached out to the Navy, U.S. Navy, and we had meetings with some of their experts.
We had the Department of Defense involved. We had NATO involved.
We showed them the photos and asked them, can you please tell us if these photos were in fact taken on a Russian submarine base? They told us, yeah, they were.
NATO's concern was, even though it was a noisy, old-fashioned diesel sub, that all diesel subs can go electric because the diesel motors charge up the batteries for the electric motors. And once it goes silent and goes underwater, it could disappear.
It can't be impossible because Tarzan's doing it. He is crazy enough to try something like this.
I quickly went down there back to
I was in Miami running my exotic car rental business, and the phone call came. Kali cartel member. Where are you? We'd like to meet with you. Can you see us tonight? Sure. Guys flew into town, and next thing you know, it's like, let's go have a drink. Let's talk. We went out and partied that night. Drank best wine, best liquor. We had women. We had everything. It was the greatest time. The next day, they woke up like 4 in the afternoon, called me up. Can we meet? Sure. So they did it right, because we had a great time. You know, we broke bread and we partied together. I said, Juan, there's some things we need to know. We need your help. Okay. You know your friend Tony? Suddenly, he's gone. He's on the run. He's not around anymore. But we know where he is. We just need your help. I was like, really? What do you mean? He goes, well, you can start off by telling us where his family lives. Where's his wife and where's his kids? Oh, what do you mean? What are you talking about? So yeah, where does his wife and children live here in Miami? We know you know that. Why would you be asking me? Well, he's not around anymore. He's gone. And he took our money. What? Yes, a lot of money. And I'm like, you're kidding me. So yeah, you need to do this for us. Okay. I remember I had a white Rolls Royce at the time. I jumped in the Rolls. I drove them, and right at the front of the house, they looked at the house and wrote the numbers down. They wrote the numbers down. It was okay, we can go. He said to me, here's the deal. Talk to him. Talk sense into him. Tell him we're watching him. He's not going anywhere.
Juan got him on the line. He said, Tony, we have to talk to you. The situation is getting hot.
Juan